Got the recording started, and then I'll just say, greetings, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Dreamscapes. Today we have our friend Felix with us here. I keep forgetting to ask Felix, is it okay to say where you're at in the world?
Yeah, I'm in Michigan.
Michigan. Okay, right on. Good deal. Our friend Felix from Michigan, and he's going to tell us his dream. I'm going to listen, and we'll go from there. So anytime you're ready.
Alrighty. I have a first, so it started out, I knew a first cousin that was coming up from Texas. That's where he lives. We're very close, almost like brothers. He was coming up to visit, and when he had got here, he just said, "Come on, we're gonna go for a ride." And it was a really nice Mercedes that I was driving. I was the one driving. He was in the back seat, and I just basically hear him say, "Hey, we're gonna go rob this guy. We gotta go hit this guy." And I'm like, I couldn't talk. I wasn't really saying anything. I was just driving. So we're driving. We pick the guy up, and I know who he is. His name's John Bennett. And I mean, my cousin just starts beating the crap out of him in the back seat. But as we're driving and we pick the guy up, the car changes into another car. It was a smaller car, like a two-door. I noticed that it changed, but it didn't really bother me because I was just driving. I couldn't really see out of the sides of my windows. I was just driving straight. My cousin pretty much was just beating up on this guy really, really bad in the back seat. We get to this apartment complex, which is actually like right around the corner from my house. And we pull up to the apartment complex. It's not that same apartment, but it's in the exact spot. And we go up to the roof, and I didn't really see any apartment building or like individual apartments, or just we walked in the door and it was just steps straight up to the roof. And he was in front of me with the guy. I was behind him walking. We went up to the roof, and I just knew the guy thought that I was going to hurt him. So he turned around, but at that moment that he turned around, he turned into another one, a friend that I know. And I don't know if they know each other. They might, but my friend Franklin, he turned into Franklin, and I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not going to hurt you." Well, at that moment, there were two individuals, two black individuals that walked up the stairs, and at the door that we came out of from the stairs that were leading up, there was another door beside it that had stairs going down. And as soon as my friend Franklin, who had now turned from John to Franklin, he seen the two gentlemen. They walked in another door that was on the side, and that door was just stairways going down. There were two separate doors, one stair that led for stairs going up. The second door was for stairs going down. And Franklin was like, "Oh, really? Is that what this is?" And he's instructed my cousin to give him the gun that he had, and he gave him the gun, and he walked downstairs to this apartment, and he was talking to a gentleman. It wasn't the two black gentlemen that walked down the stairs. It was just somebody else. And I knew that he was holding a little girl's hand. And I was kind of like looking down from where I was at on the roof, because the apartment window kind of sat. So I had to look down, kind of crouch down a little bit. And I could see the gentleman talking to the guy who was holding a little girl's hand. And he's like, "I'm not going to hurt her. Don't worry about that." And he killed the guy. He shot the guy. I don't know what happened to the little girl. But then there were two little girls laying down, and they were sleeping. But they were laying opposite directions, but they were laying next to each other. They were both young. One was probably like 11. The other one was probably like 8 or 7. And he walked right up to the little girl who was wearing a black sweat outfit, who was the younger one. And he shot her in her ear to where you could just see the blood coming out of her ear. And then he went to the other girl who was wearing a gray sweatsuit. And I didn't see how he shot her. I just knew that he shot her. and I could see her face, her reaction, and it was just her eyeballs and her teeth that I could see, and it was just the pure shock. And so my cousin left after I seen that. He just went back to Texas. I already knew. I didn't see him leave or anything. I just knew that he was there in Texas, and I was back at my house. Um, well, actually, I was back at my mother's house, and I remember a black matted out like Dodge Challenger pulled up with tinted windows, and it was the guy Franklin that we robbed. And he was wearing a turquoise polo, and I was just like, Mom, whatever you do, don't open the door. Just continue to work, like you're doing working from home, and just don't open the door. Just keep working. And that was pretty much it. I woke up. I wasn't really, my heart rate wasn't elevated. Um, it wasn't nothing that I wasn't upset about. I was just like, wow, what does this mean? I was really confused when I woke up. And I was thinking maybe even too that it might have something to do because tomorrow is the 1 year anniversary that my father passed. So I'm thinking
Okay.
maybe is his death have anything to do with that or what? It was just really confusing. I didn't know, and that's when I reached out.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, you posted this up online. That's how I came across it. And I
Yeah,
don't know if a lot of folks know, I kind of lurk on the Reddit, and just if I see a dream that seems interesting or someone asking for help and saying this is important, I need to understand it, I'll just post a little thing saying hi. Come check out my stuff if you're interested. And so that's one way I get um, new interviews. So yeah, I've had some interesting situations in the past where mods contacted me and like, you're spamming our board. And I'm like, I don't mean to. How many people can I contact today without it being like a problem? So
yeah.
I haven't been banned yet. So let's hope I don't. But I don't know how else to
Well,
reach people. Let them know I'm available.
yeah.
So that's just
Yeah,
kind of
and
how I
that's
do.
awesome, man. I didn't think it was spam. I didn't think it was going to be anything like that. I was just more initially surprised that I even got a response.
Yeah, a lot of those dreams get posted and no one has anything to say, and I can imagine that. And there's actually, I mean, just for folks who watching, listening that might be interested, there are some dreams I won't get into anything with graphic sexual stuff, just because I'm not. I kind of don't want to have to like age restrict the channel. But
Right.
specifically anything that's like I'm having dreams about being molested as a kid, or I'm having dreams about being raped. I don't I don't believe it's appropriate for me to bring that on in this format and talk about it. That doesn't mean I won't discuss things that are potentially disgusting. Like one guy had in an old other video had insects coming out of his skin. That's some body horror. That's fine. Or violent stuff.
Right.
We get into it, and violence isn't always violence. It usually represents something else. So it's very infrequent. Like I had a dream where I say stab my dog. Okay, you don't really want to stab your dog. That represents something
Yeah.
else. And then we
Yeah.
figure that out together. So, um, and I just had a terrible thing happen where I try to tear these sheets neatly and they don't, and so your name got torn on that one. And
Oh,
now my cat's laying on the other one. Okay, so my process is I am going to need that back. There you go, son. I listen to just the description. You tell it like it is, and then we go back through it one more time to try and fill in some of the gaps, give me a better idea of the visual images involved. And I can only write so fast, so I probably miss some stuff. And then we get into a third phase later where we start trying to put it back together. So if I were to begin at the beginning, you've got your cousin who's as close to you as like a brother. And this is in real life, so this is someone you know, or
yes.
okay.
Yes.
And he's coming up from Texas. Did you know anything prior to that, or was there any kind of communication of like an invitation? Did he invite himself, or as far as you know, he just hey, he's on his way. This is happening.
That's literally how it started. I'm just standing up out in my house, and I'm like, "Hey, my cousin's coming over." And then he's bam outside of the drive in the driveway, and I'm like, "Go!" I get out, go to the car, and
Okay.
yeah, and it just I noticed the car. There was a black Mercedes. I don't know what kind of Mercedes, but it the drive was really nice. I know that it was a smooth ride when I was driving it.
Okay, good deal. So when you noticed he was there, was he already in the back seat waiting for you to come and drive?
Yeah, but it would see, but it felt like we had a conversation beforehand because I was just already in the car driving, no explanation, no questions. I was just already in the car, and then he just affirmed, "Hey, we have to go rob this guy," and I didn't really have anything to say. I wasn't talking. I just knew that this was what we had to do, and I was driving him there. And then we picked this guy up, and I don't even remember the guy getting in the car. I mean, he's just in the back seat, and my cousin's just beating the crap out of him with the gun in his hands, and
Okay.
yeah,
And I think you'd
it wasn't even a long car.
chosen a name for that person, John.
John, yeah,
John. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, for folks listening as well. Anytime we're talking about things that might relate to real people and might not want to be mentioned, we'll pick a pseudonym. So, or just anyway. Same man, backseat, John, and you said cousin was beating him with a kind of like the butt of the gun.
yeah, pretty much just any way he could get his hands on him.
Okay. Was this person, how did this person respond to being attacked? Were they fighting back or were they just kind of crouching
I mean,
defensive?
he was just, yeah, kind of just wincing, going through the motions of everything happening. He wasn't really putting up a fight.
Okay.
And because I do know the gentleman, I mean, I know everything about him. There wouldn't even have really been too much of a struggle that there wouldn't have been too much that he could have done if that was really taking place.
That was really happening. So that was kind of consistent with what this person might be like in real life in terms of their ability to handle a situation like that.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. And where did you guys go to pick him up? Did you have a sense of
I
that?
don't even remember. I just know that from me seeing that he was there at my house in the driveway, to me driving, to him explaining what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And shortly after him explaining that happening, the guy just automatically being in the back seat. I don't remember picking him up.
Gotcha.
I just remember we had to go to this specific apartment complex, which is literally right around the corner from my house.
Okay. So do you remember having any response to hearing, "Hey, we're going to pick this guy up and rob him"? Did you respond to that in any way?
I mean, I might have been having second thoughts, but it was nothing that I mentioned. I just was driving.
Okay. But you also didn't voice any objection. You're like, I'm not so sure about that, but I guess it's happening.
Yeah, I couldn't even speak.
Did you have the sensation of wanting to say something but being incapable, or just how would you describe that?
I wouldn't even know that it was like something that I wanted to speak on. It's just I knew that it wasn't right, and I'm just like I was just focused on driving and where I had to go.
Okay.
My I guess my main focus was just that. It was just I wasn't worried about why are we having to do this. It was just there was not an understanding, but it wasn't the time to speak on it, and I didn't have the ability, so I'm just driving. That was my focus.
Yeah, gotcha. And that's good to kind of clarify that kind of stuff, because there's something about this scenario where you're like in control of the vehicle, but not the mission, and you're not kind of setting the terms there. You're in a way you're driving, but you're along for the ride. So there's something there too, and we'll come back around to that too. I think that's important in some way. I describe it as getting a tickle, a sense of something being meaningful. Maybe I figure it out, maybe I don't. Maybe we get there together. But at least I tend to mark these little things like let's go back to that in a minute. So you pull up to this apartment complex. You said around the corner. And you originally mentioned that it was not the image you had of it, or the way it appeared in your dream, was not the actual complex that is around the corner from your house. It's actually a different place, but in the same location.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's no roof access to pretty much any apartment complex around here.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of them, it depending on where you live, but they don't have those kind of flat roofs you'd see in, say, like New York, where people go up there and they're looking off the top. Most of them have like roofs and
Pointed.
shingles. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Shingled. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. What am I looking at here? Do you remember any specific process of getting out of the car, or just suddenly you were walking upstairs?
Suddenly walking up the stairs, it's like everything's just jumping straight to it.
Yeah, for sure. And that usually is significant in some way too. It's like your brain's leaving out stuff that's not important, or there's a reason for the jump in terms of the content. So I don't know what that means yet, but
yeah,
we'll see. Suddenly, so the next thing, you're pulling up to the apartment complex. Then the next thing you know, you're walking up this one set of stairs that goes straight to the roof.
Yes.
To the roof. And the way you described it was the man. Wait a minute, I think we left something out too. Like in the car, he became someone else.
The car changed after the car changed after he told me that we were going to do what we were going to do. It wasn't the Mercedes anymore. It was like almost like a two-door, and it wasn't. I knew that the car was different, that it wasn't the car that we started driving in, but it didn't really matter. It's just like, well, I'm driving anyway, you know. So the car shifted.
Yeah, and that's why I take those notes too, so we can come back around to that. So he tells you, we're going to do this thing. You're having second thoughts, but you don't voice them, and the car changes. Now it's a different kind of car. How did you get the sense of it being a different kind of car? Did the interior change?
The back seat got really small.
Okay.
Like it turned into like before it was, just a 4-door bigger Mercedes luxury car, and then right when he said it, it was like, those seats that you have to push forward to get in the back seat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was like that interior.
So it went from a 4-door down to kind of like a 2-door, and then you had to put the seat forward so you could crawl into the back. Okay.
Yeah.
That is interesting. And then after you picked up the guy, as he was being attacked, he also became someone else? Was that? No. That happened later.
That didn't happen until we got on top of the roof. So as we're pulling in the apartment, I don't visualize us getting out of the car or anything. We pull in there and then we're walking up the stairs. I don't see any doors to any apartments. I just see it's the stairs and then the roof, like the door to the roof opening, and my cousins are probably like maybe 5 or 6 steps ahead of me.
Okay, and that's actually what brought me back around to remembering something had changed previously. Was I was trying to get the order of the people. You said your cousin was kind of guiding this other person in front of them up the stairs, and then you were following behind him?
They were walking alongside each other pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
So then, right when I get to the top of the stairs, and I push through the door, John assumes that I'm going to hurt him. So as his back's turned to me and he's going to turn around, kind of like look over his right shoulder motion, John turns into Franklin, who I also know in real life as well. They're both 2 individuals that I know.
Okay.
And I pretty much tell Franklin, I'm not going to hurt you. And then after that happens, 2 black guys walk up the stairs and then walk in another through another doorway, which is right beside the stairs we just came from, and those are a set of stairs that are going down.
Okay, I do want to. So you describe it as you're coming through the door out onto the roof, and those 2 are already have passed in front of you by a few feet.
Yeah, they were like 5 steps ahead of me.
And then you see John kind of look over his shoulder, and you get the impression from him that he believes you're about to start hurting him.
Yes.
And you actually say something to him at that point.
That I'm not gonna hurt him.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not gonna hurt you.
Do you recall this being the first thing you've said in the entire dream so far?
Yes, because
Okay.
there was only two things that I was able to say. Was that, and then at the end of the dream.
Okay. And then it was in response to, or immediately following that trigger, that John suddenly turns into, you said Franklin?
His face turned into Franklin, yeah. And I don't know if they know each other. I mean, I've known them for quite a long time. I'd say over 15 years. I mean,
Yeah.
we're acquaintances, or families mutual, people know people. We're
Sure.
not in too big of a large town, but we tend to, in the Hispanic community especially, you kind of know faces or last names, and so
Hmm.
you've always seen them throughout the years as a kid growing up.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
these two individuals I know from in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. And this may not even have actually anything to do with those two people that we're not really identifying. It could be characteristics they have that are being represented by an image of them. It could also be your mind sometimes just says, I need to put a face on this person, and I'll draw from my memory of someone I know and throws it on there. It could be random like that. It's generally not, but it doesn't necessarily mean it has anything to do with the actual person in real life.
Well, oh, sorry, what were you
No,
saying?
go ahead. Yeah.
Well, so a little bit kind of with, and because I'm thinking as I'm trying to analyze it throughout the day before, even before you even responded,
Yeah.
I'm well thinking about John, and John in real life, he's a guy that, really heavy into drugs and alcohol, always making a quick buck. And he's actually with somebody, a childhood friend that I know. He's, boyfriend and girlfriend with another girl who, she's not really happy in that situation, and they're together. But I mean, it's nothing that my place for even to speak on. It's just something that I know about him.
Sure.
And it's not that good. The image of him is not that good.
Okay.
Um,
And then
so I don't.
maybe it does relate in a way to your feelings about him in that situation, or your
Uh-huh.
it's hard to say feelings about him. What I'm more saying is your feelings in response to what you observe is more the
Yeah.
right way to put it. But then he actually, after you reassure him that he's not going to be harmed by you, he becomes a different person. And do you feel comfortable saying anything about that person in terms of how he's different from John? How John and Franklin are different people or characteristics? Oh, I think you froze for a second. I don't know if I'm coming through wonky.
Oh, but the phone. I'm sorry, I got a phone call, but it's okay. I was able to tell him I'll call him back.
All right. Yeah, no problem. We're good.
Yep.
Did you hear my question, or should I say it again?
Yes, I'm sorry, I missed it.
Oh, that's all right. Now, because John, in your mind or in this dream imagery, suddenly became a different person, it might be interesting to say, what are some of Franklin's characteristics, or how is he a different person compared to John?
So Franklin, actually, they kind of almost, back when we were all younger, they kind of were both almost the same kind of person. Hand in hand, troublemakers, things like that. Not to say that I wasn't, but
Sure.
just describing them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now, Franklin's good working man, takes care of his kids, has a wife or girlfriend, soon to be wife, and I mean, he's a good guy, all around good guy.
Okay. So in some ways, in your real life experience of these persons, their life paths maybe started at a similar place, but they've diverged. One guy kind of didn't grow up, still kind of into shady stuff, maybe still hasn't got his life together. The other guy, he's making good. He's hardworking, good guy, good girlfriend, that kind of thing. So there's this diversion. It's interesting. Yeah. So whatever, there's something there. I don't want to dwell on it too much or say too much yet, because we're not quite at the analysis part, but definitely mark that whole section to come back to. And it's a good thing to let kind of percolate. Like brewing a cup of coffee back there.
Right.
So almost immediately after John becomes Franklin, that's when two more people suddenly appear.
Yeah, they pretty much walk up to the roof and then go through the second door, which is right next to the one that we just came out of, and there's stairs going down.
Okay, so they came, say, out the same door you just come through? They came up those stairs to the roof?
They walked up the stairs and then went through another doorway, which was another set of stairs that just led down.
And as they were passing by, did they interact with you in any way?
Other than that, we seen them that they came on the roof and they just were immediately going through that other door. Pretty much they walked up the stairs to go right back down. It would be the only observation that I could have made.
And that's one of those bizarre dream things too, where it's like these guys just came up to the roof and now they're going down again. Why not just not come up? What does that mean?
What was that about? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, there is probably something to that. It usually, what am I going to say? There's something to that in the idea that the only way to get to those stairs going down in whatever your mind was creating here was to first go to the roof area and whatever that represents.
Yes.
And then that allows access to another area, which is actually where you went next, kind of almost following him. Did they look at you or acknowledge your presence in any way, or were they just completely oblivious passing by?
Talking amongst each other. They were just talking amongst each other. They walked by and went right back down the stairs. And that's when Franklin said, "Oh, is that what this is?" And he instructed my cousin to give him the gun, which he went downstairs and actually went into an apartment. And that's where he was speaking to a man who I could not see. He was obviously standing in the hallway holding a little kid's hand, maybe a little girl.
Yeah.
And Franklin was talking to that guy who I couldn't see, and he kind of has the gun pointed at him in the hallway. And he's like, "I'm not going to hurt her. Don't worry about that."
I don't want to stop you, but I do got to back it up and go a little slower for each segment, just from my brain. I want to be able to see it a little more clearly. So we're going to get there for sure. When these guys passed by, did you get a sense of what they were talking about between the two of them?
No, just, chatter amongst themselves.
Did they seem intense in their conversation, like it was something important, or it was just idle chit chat? Casual. Okay.
Yeah, just idle chit chat.
May or may not be important, but I wanted to get a sense of what are they doing there? Why did Franklin respond to their passing by with this sudden and what was it that he said again?
Is this what we're doing here?
And when he said that, did you get a sense of his emotional state at the time? Was he angry? Was he happy?
Yeah, he was he was like shocked and upset that he seen those two guys.
Okay. And then he turns to your cousin and says basically something like, "Give me the gun," or "Let me have it," or how does he ask for it?
Yeah, just in that manner, just give me the gun. And my cousin just gives it to him. He doesn't say anything. He just gives it to him.
And that is kind of interesting too, because your cousin was beaten up on John, but now John's not John anymore. He's Franklin.
Yeah.
And your cousin doesn't seem surprised by that. And he's going to give this guy he was just beating on the gun, although it's not the same guy anymore. Very, very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get a sense of what your cousin was thinking when he handed over the gun?
No, there wasn't even. It was just he just handed it. It wasn't. He didn't have any resistance. Wasn't smiling. He just gave it to him.
Okay. No hesitance. No surprise. No eagerness. Nothing.
No.
Just almost like blank. Like, okay, that's what we're doing.
It was just like a robot. Like if I told you to do something, you're just like no emotion, just doing exactly what I said.
Okay. Let me try it again here. Let me try and tear this paper. Come on. There we go. It's just the small stuff. I love it. It makes me so happy. People are going to get sick of me saying that in these videos. Okay. So we're still looking at the notes here. And then at that point, it was Franklin who took the lead. And he's like, follow me. Does he?
Well, I don't even follow him. I'm observing him from a window, still on the roof.
Okay. So there's actually like some way you're able to see into the apartment where this is happening, but you stay on the roof.
Yes, through a window. Yeah. And it's crazy because I don't see any windows or anything, but it's only after he kind of follows those two guys. I don't know where they are. And it's not the guy that he's speaking to in the apartment isn't those two guys that passed by. It's
Okay.
just another person that I can't see, but I know it's a different person.
That's why I go back through these things to get these kind of details. Because in my brain, I'm like, you follow him and that you're observing this
Yeah.
from inside, but actually you're seeing it from outside. You're
The
watching this
outside. Yes.
through a window. You're looking into some other space.
Yes.
Gotcha. Does your cousin go with him or he goes by himself?
I don't even like my focus isn't even on him. I don't even know if he's still on the roof at that point.
Does he kind of disappear from your dream entirely at that point? Or
Yes.
and then
Entirely at
doesn't
that
show
point.
up? Doesn't show up again?
No, and I pretty much just assumed or knew already that he was in Texas.
Okay. So that's something to come back around to as well. This idea of why is your cousin there? What does that represent? And what does it mean that he left at that moment, having accomplished that part of the mission or the purpose of his presence in the dream, and now turning it over to this different focus?
Right.
Something to come back around to. Great detail there. So are you able to give me a little bit of an idea of the physical layout of how you're seeing through this window, like where you're standing on the roof, where the window is in relationship to where you're standing?
It's next to the door that was going down the stairs. And I kind of have to crouch down, like almost like if you see like a 3-level apartment and if you walk in the building, there's stairs going up and stairs going down.
Okay.
And if you can see the window, you can kind of see, but you have to crouch down just a tad bit to kind of, because like if you were to stand and look through the window, probably their head and their shoulders would be blocked out. So you'd have to
Okay.
crouch just, a little bit for like from hands to knees stance.
Yeah. So it's almost like the door, the stairs go down, and then the stairs end right where the entrance to that apartment is. And so you're on the roof, but you're able
Yes.
to almost immediately, and it's not like you're looking across a courtyard to the opposite
No,
L of the
I'm right
building.
up at the glass.
Okay. That's a much better visual picture for me. So that's where you got into. So so it's Franklin now with the gun that approaches a man in the apartment, but it's not the same two dudes that walked by before.
Yes, it was
Okay.
somebody totally different. And he was holding a little girl and her like a child. I probably say it was a little girl.
Okay.
But I couldn't see them. I just knew that that's who he was talking to because Franklin said that he wasn't going to hurt the little girl while he has the gun pointed at the guy, who I cannot see because they're in the hallway.
Okay. Let me get
So it almost would be like me looking into and like a living room setting to where
Yeah.
you can see the living room, and then beyond that it's just the kitchen, and then there's a hallway which probably leads to like a bathroom and bedroom.
Okay. So this man holding the young girl and the guy who's got the gun pointed at him, he's actually kind of out of view in this hallway.
Yes,
So you never
he's
got
out of view. I can't see him, but I see Franklin pointing the gun at that guy who's holding a girl's hand because he's like, I'm not gonna hurt her.
And when you say holding your hand, she's standing next to him.
Yes, side by side.
And did you get a sense of how
But I
old she
can't
was?
see them. She had to have been young. She was just young. I don't really the age. It got more telling on how old the girls were and their age were the two little girls that were laying down.
Okay.
After
But this
he
girl was
killed
actually
that guy.
smaller than those other two?
Yes.
Okay. So
yeah,
young,
she was probably
younger than that.
yes,
Gotcha.
younger.
Yeah, that's fine. Doesn't have to be. You have to tell me exactly how many years and months.
Yeah.
No, if you had a sense that she was a specific age, that would come to you and you would say, yeah, I knew she was exactly 2 years and 3 months old. And maybe that means something. In this case, you don't know. It didn't occur to you. The content doesn't appear there, so you don't have to make it up or try and get too specific. But it is interesting that you knew the ages of the other girls. Like it was more readily identifiable. So
Yeah.
Franklin is pointing the gun at the man, and he sees that the girl is scared, and he reassures her that he's not going to hurt her.
I think it was more so that the gentleman who had the gun pointed at him was scared that Franklin was going to hurt the girl, and he was kind of reassuring the guy that I'm not going to hurt him. Basically, I'm going to hurt you.
Okay.
I'm not going to hurt her. I'm basically going to hurt you.
Franklin. And do you remember how he said it? Just basically like that?
Yeah, just I'm not. Don't worry. I'm not going to hurt.
And it was almost immediately after that that he shot the guy?
Yeah, killing him.
Did you see any strong reaction of like, did the guy stumble into the room and collapse? Did he just fall over backwards?
I just knew that guy was dead because I couldn't see him in the hallway. I could only see Franklin had the gun pointed at him. So I don't even know how he fell. I don't know where he shot him. I just know that guy was dead as soon as he shot.
Yeah, and that's kind of interesting too, that this man is completely out of view in the hallway. I'm making another little mark here to kind of come back around to it. What does that mean? Why could you not see him? Why did your brain choose to put him out of view? Very, very interesting. Yeah. He was dead. And then after that happened, did the little girl let go of his arm? Did she collapse? Did she run
wasn't
away?
Even there anymore.
She was just gone. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then that's when you became aware that there were two other small girls on the floor in the living room area?
Yeah, they were asleep. They weren't even awake. The little girl, well, they were laying side by side but in opposite direction.
Yeah, that's it. Kind of a head to foot situation.
Exactly.
And I think you described, I missed the age on one of them in the description of what she was wearing. But first, their orientation in the room from the direction you were looking at them, were they lined up next to each other, head and feet pointed at you? Were they side by side, long ways across the room?
It was almost, they were, off to the left, in the living room still. They were just slightly to the left, laying next to each other on the floor.
Okay, but if you think about it, like in a line going away from you, is that the head to foot orientation, or was it in a line crossing?
Yeah, no, it was vertical. If from looking at this angle.
Gotcha. Okay, so there was almost like one of their feet was pointed at you, one of their heads was pointed at you.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
It was like, okay, so if you're sitting in that chair right now, that rug to the left by that door, which would be your right, that's where they were laying.
Okay, gotcha. And they were kind of like head towards the back wall and feet
yes,
towards.
Sir.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay, just for my own visual image. Does it mean anything? I don't know.
Right.
I'm going to call that like lengthwise instead of like crosswise.
Okay.
I don't know what it means. I just like to be able to see it. And now in terms of like, so they were off to the left from your perspective, which were they in terms of like furniture in the room? Were they near a couch, near a table, on a rug?
They were on a rug slightly past the table. That like to the right of them was a table, and then beyond that was a couch.
Okay. And then you said they were one laying one way and one laying the other, and they had uniquely identifiable visual appearance and identifiable age to each one. So if there were one on the left, did she have her feet pointing towards you or your head?
The one that was younger. So if I'm looking to my left, the one that was younger was wearing a black sweatsuit and her head was facing. And then the girl who was like 11 laying next to her was wearing a gray sweatsuit and her head was pointed closer to your back wall.
Okay. So, gray sweatsuit. I don't know why the the yin yang symbol comes to mind. Does that come in? I'm just going to draw that real quick here on my paper just because I don't know why. Yeah. Just to remind me to come back around to that. There's something in that imagery. So you said the girl on the left with her head kind of pointing towards you was younger. Did you get an idea of the age closer?
9.
You say like 9 years old.
9.
And the other girl was 11?
Yeah.
Okay. And she was the one with the gray sweatsuit. And what you'd said was... So you said Franklin, and he's still, at this point, he's maintaining that identity as that person.
Yes.
Okay. And you said he walks up to which girl first?
The younger one, the 9-year-old.
And then that's when he kind of reaches down and
he crouches down, yeah, and then shoots her in her ear. And then I just see the blood just slowly seeping like beyond her hair. It looks like it's a little wild. Like it's not like, messy, but it's just it's fanned out because she's laying down. So
okay.
And then on the other side, I just seeping by her.
And does she have any reaction to that? Like she just stays asleep.
She was
basically.
Asleep. No, they were sleeping. They didn't even know.
Unconscious.
The older one had.
And the other girl didn't wake up?
No.
Okay.
She was still laying there sleeping after. And yeah, she didn't have a reaction until he crouched down and shot her. I'm not sure how he did. I just basically seen her reaction, and it was, pure shock. And I just seen her eyes and her teeth. I didn't see her nose, anything else. It was just the reaction in her mouth being open of it happening.
Shock. Okay. All right. And did anything else happen in that scenario? Did Franklin do anything else in that room after that, or did you have any other experience of?
No, I pretty much was already back. I was at my mom's house after that happened.
Like that immediately happened. And did you remember having even enough time to have your own response to what you were seeing?
I just seen what happened. I didn't even have any. I didn't feel any response to it. It was after no sooner he shot the two little girls, I was instantly at my mom's house after that happened. And then I looked out kind of by her side window, and that's when, and I don't know why, it was just, I don't know why that car and color stood out, but it was a black matted Dodge Challenger, the 2 doors.
So you look out the window and suddenly you see that this car is pulling into the driveway, or that it's already there and he's getting out.
He's pulling up to, yeah, it's already there. He had like pulled up to the house and he was there getting out. It was still Franklin, but he was wearing a turquoise shirt.
What was he wearing before? In the other part of the dream?
That wasn't like specific.
Okay. That's fine.
It wasn't specific until like I seen that, because my mom has an enclosed porch, so it wasn't until he was like knocking on that window. And usually my her window in real life is like you can't see through it. She has like the frosted glass, so you can't see through it, but her window in my dream, you could see through it. I could see that it was him knocking on the door.
Okay. Did you get the sense that he could see you? He was able to tell if anyone was home?
It was almost like he couldn't see me, but he was speaking knowing that I was there and knowing that I could be hurt, knowing that he could be hurt.
And what was he saying, as far as you can recall?
We had to go to a football game.
So did you get the sense that his purpose for being there was just to pick you up and take you somewhere else? Or was
Yeah, but I just felt like he was lying, though. I knew that that wasn't what we were going to do, because obviously everything just happened. I robbed, my cousin beat the crap out of you, and all these events took place, and I'm not there. So obviously that we weren't there for a football game.
So you're not trusting it. He's acting innocent, but you're like, something's shady here.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's when you kind of said to your mom,
don't open the door, just keep working. Those are the only two things I said. Was when I talked to Franklin on the roof, told him I wasn't gonna hurt him, and then to tell my mom to don't open the door, just keep working.
And you had so she was there with you. You just kind of became aware of her suddenly at this moment of like, or were you,
of him knocking on the
of
door,
him knocking on the door,
coming to the house.
And what did you mean by
Like
keep
as
working?
soon as he knocked. Well, she's working from home right now due to the pandemic, so she has her computer and everything all kind of like in the kitchen area, or not the dining room area.
Okay.
Yeah, due to the pandemic, the credit unions closed down, so they have a bunch of people working through home.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, his work got to get done. That's kind of an amazing thing from this whole experience. I mean, we go through just crazy shit, and then other interesting new ways of doing things come out of it. I can't say it's a worthwhile trade-off, but it is maybe silver linings. Maybe people realize. Here's something I was talking to my wife about. Not to get us way off track, but now doctors are doing phone and video visits. I'm like, why haven't we been doing this for 20 years? I mean, we've had telephones for 100 years, something like that. Why, and it was because it was never allowed by law or regulation, to my understanding. And it took something like this pandemic to say, why don't we do this other thing that's way better and works for people? And you ain't got to pile in the car and go to the office. You just call your doctor and say, hey, let's have a talk. And you get what you need. You get your prescription refilled. You get your questions answered. It doesn't have to be this whole drawn out rigmarole of going to the office. So I don't know. I like looking at things like that. It's like, okay, so we had a shitty pandemic.
Reading the old magazines.
Right?
No, I'm sorry. I was just saying that. Just the whole thing about it.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm old enough. I don't know how old you are. I'm mid 40s now, but I'm old enough to remember, before cell phones, that's all you got is them shitty magazines. Now nobody touches them. They're canceling all their subscriptions. Yeah. They're just for show because everyone's playing on their phone.
Yeah.
Now, the phone's more interesting.
I'm 32.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. But now it is, like you said, now it's all tablets. The old highlights magazines where you got to do the cross puzzles that everybody already did or just scribbled all over.
Yeah. Goofus and Gallant, hidden pictures. I remember that shit.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Kids today, you don't know. I'm old.
Yeah. Tell you what.
I tell you what. Right. Okay. So we were just about down to the end of it there. So you tell mom, hey, just keep working. Don't answer the door. Don't respond. And then you just immediately wake up after that? I just woke up. Okay. So we actually did get down there. And I'll just show you here. This is just real quick. This is what happens. I get all these notes. I can't even hold them all. Anyway, and then maybe we get more. We'll see. But this is now down to the okay, what the fuck does that mean phase? Before I jump into it and start making suggestions or pointing at things that I think might be relevant, as you were going back through that second description, did you have any moments where you're like, oh shit, that makes sense? Like you got a little bit of that with the John Franklin comparison. I think there was something there, but did anything stand out to you? Like, here's what makes sense about that.
I wasn't really sure what the message is. I mean, I feel, obviously I've read a little bit of books loosely about Sigmund and Freud and a little bit about dream interpretation and colors and certain things having meaning. So I was analyzing and stuff, but nothing really stuck out other than the fact that the black car and it was Matt and then his turquoise shirt.
Yeah.
That was the really thing that stuck out. I'm not really sure whether it was just more so that I just didn't trust the situation and after everything had already happened from the first part of my.
Yeah, for sure. And there was something that felt off with that. And this is the first time I think you did mention colors with the girls, black and gray.
Yes.
But I don't think there was any other representations of colors
other than a black Mercedes Benz. I don't know.
Also, the black Mercedes. I think you did. Yeah, you did. So it's interesting this is the first time it was a color that was not black or white. So it was very much something different. I think we can focus on that first too, is that there's something about he's coming to the door. He's not telling you the truth. He's trying to get you to come outside and you're like, I'm not having it, especially in light of everything that happened. So I think maybe there's something.
Yeah.
There's something there too with the idea that it's this Franklin character that was. It's very interesting too, because you had a situation where you've got a guy that you maybe wouldn't feel as bad if he got robbed, because he's not that he's a bad person, but that, well, you would expect it for his lifestyle, maybe, John initially, but then he becomes someone else that you maybe have a little more, I don't want to say respect for, but you're looking at
general regard,
you just approve of his life choices more. You're like, he's doing it right. This other guy, he's still kind of making mistakes, and but then to have him, this person that you would say he's generally a good dude, and to have him then go to a place where he's shooting a guy, not the little girl, but the other two girls. And there's something, there's something that each of those things represent. And the idea of Franklin is killing those ideas in a way that, what is it? Girls, especially sleeping girls, just laying on the floor, very vulnerable, susceptible to, like easily damaged, easily dealt with. And he does, he just, immediately does it, but in a way that, that you're, I would say in your waking mind, you're probably uncomfortable with that. I would assume, both of us do not condone just randomly murdering little kids. So there's something about that image of putting this idea that's going to die into this form of vulnerability, and, something that makes you respond to it like, I'm not happy to see that happen. There's something in there. So what am I trying to say? There's probably some area of your life where you want to be more like Franklin, but in order to do that, you have to let go of something else. That idea of becoming more like Franklin has to kill off this other idea that you're maybe reluctant to let go of. Does that make sense in some way? Can you connect it to anything?
Very perfect sense.
Yeah. What do you make of it? What's your thoughts on that in terms of what you're going through?
I think a lot with my relationship, there's a lot of trust issues of why.
And since that seems to be, well, first I want to say it seems like it's a little bit mutual on both sides. You both kind of did some stuff, and you both had things to forgive in the other person, and so it isn't like one person was all wrong and the other person was a saint.
Okay.
Definitely
it was both, dual contribution.
Yeah, and that's more drama, but at least it isn't an imbalance in the relationship. It's sometimes where there's the biggest problem is when there's one person did nothing wrong, the other person screwed up royally, and even if that person doesn't hold it over the other person's head, that person feels guilty for the rest of their life. But now there's like mutual guilt, so you say, we both fucked up. It's a much easier to have a eye-to-eye relationship in that regard. So when you can both forgive each other, you both did some wrong things, and you're both being generous. That's good. That's probably why you're still making it work in a way. Because that balance is there. I'm not telling people if you like if your wife cheated on you, go out and cheat back on her. That's not the advice. But if it happens, it happens, and then you can work it out from there. And sometimes it makes things easier to deal with.
And then I even started thinking about, does it have to do with my job? Because I haven't been too happy at my job lately because of COVID, and there's been a lot of restriction, or not a lot of restrictions. There's been a lot of policy changes with no, type of announcing anything. It's just pretty much, hey, this is we're going to do this. If you don't do this now, we're going to have to let you go.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. You never know what you're in for that ruins your ability to feel your day is predictable and stable. You don't know what you're walking into every time you go in there, and then they're just going to change it the next day. It's like, well, why do we do it this other way? Yes, nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows what they're doing.
So I just, and that was what it was. I feel like, and from loosely thinking, not to go too deep into that, it's, nobody was really prepared for this, but us being, me, that I'm a cook and I work in the healthcare facility.
Yeah.
To where almost you should be prepared for medical emergencies. You're a hospital, or you're a rehabilitation center, or you're a assisted living. So we should be ready, for things that are going to be coming, because we deal with viruses and outbreaks. So, people get C. diff or different things, that you just come across working in long-term care.
For sure. Yeah. You would think they should know. And that there are actually protocols in every place like that, where it's like, hey, if there's a significant infection control issues, number one, there's a person who's usually the go-to on that. And then there's already all these procedures in place with like, if then scenarios, like if this happens, we do this, done. And then you just kind of do that. You would think, but, this whole COVID thing is everyone's losing their mind in so many different ways. You know, people that think it's a hoax, people that are living in fear in their homes. There's got to be a middle ground between those two. It's the end of the world. It's a nothing burger. There's the truth somewhere in the middle. Yeah. So it could very much have some things to do with that. There's a theme of violence running through it, or harm being inflicted in some ways. There's themes of travel to involving vehicles. There's also themes of different spaces involved. There's the roof and the stairs. There's the inside of the apartment. There's your mom's house, and a lot of these things have to do with how you associate with those spaces. Like, what does it mean that the car got, like, I'll go back to some of those things, is that it was after you were told that you had to, or that your cousin was intent upon performing this robbery of this guy. Yeah. That the car suddenly changed. So it's no longer this large open space. Now it's this tiny space. There's something about the change of the dimensions of the vehicle that represent the way you look at that situation. And I don't know if it's, I don't know, when you think about that, does anything come to mind?
It was just more so like, I mean, it was a nice, smooth ride. It was the car was really nice. It was just, I was like, wow, this is a really nice car. Mm-hmm. And then no sooner he said that, it pretty much, and I didn't say that, it's just all in my thought, like, wow, this is really nice. This is a nice, smooth ride. And no sooner he said that this is what we were going to go do, it was, more so like, I didn't really want to say anything. I was like, man, are we really going to do this right now? But I'm driving and we're already in the car. So this is happening. That was just pretty much of that. Those were the feelings that I got.
For sure. And then you also remember having that experience of the vehicle itself being very nice, very comfortable, smooth ride. And what did your experience of handling the vehicle feel like after it changed to this other kind of vehicle? Was it less smooth?
It wasn't that it was rough. Yeah. It was more so like, I'm in a smaller car. This is not the car that I was driving, but I'm driving. So
there was the surprise of suddenly being in a different vehicle, but you didn't notice a difference in how it handled, or the comfort, or okay.
It was just smaller. It wasn't any less uncomfortable, or, any less comfortable, or I just knew, like, this is different now. Now, why are we in this car now?
So when you think of Mercedes, you probably think of like a high quality, high comfort, luxury car. And then this new one was not. This new one was less luxury.
Yeah, it was like a compact, just 2-door cloth seats. The Mercedes, if I could, picture it, it was, nice dark leather, smooth, really clean on the inside. And, it just felt really great sitting in the car driving it. It felt really good. And then when I'm in the car, it's like, this is a smaller car, I'm still driving, though. The focus is to drive. So just drive. Don't really focus on that the car got smaller, but it is smaller.
Yeah, and noticeable. And I think there's something in there about the way you are thinking of this announcement. What seems like a happy experience. My cousin, who's like a brother to me, he's coming up. We're going to visit. It's fantastic. We got this great ride. And now he says we're going to do something I'm not so sure about. Like, we're going to make a bad decision. And now that changes everything about the scenario of like, this is not good times anymore. Now we're actually probably going to do something wrong or make a mistake in some way. Yeah. And so the enjoyment of it, the smooth ride, the luxury vehicle changes to something functional. It'll get the job done, but this is not what it should be. This is not as good as it was before. It's like you're stepping down in the quality of your experience. Yeah. Something like that rings a bell.
Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something in there. I don't know what I'm trying to reach for, but it seems important that it's like making certain decisions will take you to places you don't want to go in life.
Yeah,
Is
and
what it feels
that's
like to
kind of
me.
where I feel, because there's, like back kind of touching with my job thing. I wasn't really sure if it was like it had to do with the relationship. I just wanted to say that about the relationship, but um it was more so I started leaning is it my job, because there's been instances where I have a couple buddies who are some entrepreneurs, and they're like, hey man, dude, just come work with me, dude, forget that crap.
Mm.
And it sounds great, and of course you would want to, but there's with the job that I'm at right now, and even though I might not like the policy changes and things that are going on, it's the best thing for me, it's the best thing for my family. And that's
Yeah.
what I was kind of associating it. Is it like, is it to try to take these shortcuts, take a left turn here, and instead of, go off of the main road because I think I know a shortcut and it's not really a shortcut.
Yeah. No, for sure.
It just looks like that. It seems like that.
I think that sounds very relevant, and that can be related to the job in the idea of you've got these offers to do something different that actually might be more appealing, but seems more dangerous because it's not as stable as what you got right now. You're going to go off and be an entrepreneur under someone that might fail. You got bills, you got kids, you got a life you're trying to sustain, and if you stay where you're at, it's very safe, even if it's a little less than pleasant. But if you make this other decision, if you take this other road, it could be better. It could destroy everything. It could be a very bad decision. Yeah. So there might be something in there. I wonder if if we continue down that road and try and keep matching it up to like job opportunities and life choices, there's something about going to rob John that would relate to making that decision to say start a new job that might fail. I'm not sure how to connect those dots. It would be like,
and that's
what does John represent?
I'm not sure if that's about the job either.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make sense because I'm confused as hell. Like, what does this mean? What does
me too.
All this mean?
For sure. And that's one viable angle. And I think what we do is we just look at all those. There's something I do is called rattling doorknobs. And I just like, oh, that door didn't come open. Maybe that's not what it's connected to. And then again, you have all these sudden transitions in your dream too, where like it'll show you something small, because that represents an idea. Like, here's how all these real life pieces fit together in this one concept in your mind. And then the next part of the dream might actually be completely unrelated to the same concept, but it's borrowing some images from that previous section of the dream, because actually those characters do still relate, even if it's not directly like it's not the same character. And you even have the thing where like one character literally becomes another. It's like, okay, this is not John anymore. Now it's Franklin. But yeah, so it is interesting too that you're the driver, but you're the passenger. So you're in control. You're driving. You are making it happen. But what's actually happening is in the back seat is it's removed from you. It's someone else doing it, and you're more or less passively observing. Maybe there is something in there about watching other people make their choices and just seeing how it plays out. You're not interfering. You're not telling them to stop. You're like, maybe this needs to happen. Maybe they know something I don't. Maybe there's a reason for this. Maybe if it works, I'll get on board with it. It seems like there's something there with your cousin. Have you looked up your cousin as someone who makes good decisions in general, or just he's just real fun to hang out with?
He's a very family oriented. He wears his heart on his sleeve, I would say, more than I do.
Okay.
Very family oriented, the protector, the aggressor. We're 4 months apart. He's 4 months younger than I am.
Okay.
But he's just always been my little big cousin, almost the enforcer type, kind of not afraid to tell me something, even though he knows it's not going to make me happy, and know that, he's not afraid to tell me how it is. And a lot of times, even though we are close, we clash a lot. We don't agree on a lot of things.
Okay.
But we still respect each other.
So the image of him in your mind, it may be represented in dreams too, is like you might even go along with what he's saying from the perspective of, here's something he would do. Here's a situation he would take care of. He would take action, and maybe I wouldn't do it. Maybe I would be along for the ride, so to speak, but I'm going to trust him that this needs to be done. even if I'm not sure about it, at least I'm not going to stop him from doing it because maybe there's a good reason for it. There's probably something in there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
and I'm not, I mean, a lot of he's not trying to get me to do, the things that he does, because he's an engineering safety consultant. He kind of
Gotcha.
he has his own career. He travels a lot, and I think he understands, that's not something that I would be wanting to do. But a lot of times
Sure.
he's, hey, we can do this. Hey, we can start this. I know I'm doing this, but we can do this. And a lot he's trying to push me for the better. He's I think we get torn where we see different opportunities, where you grow up and you kind of see two essential lifestyles, where you see the businessman who's going to work hard, or the guy who can just have a snap idea and just rake it in and get the big bucks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where he's we're both proud of each other that we're working, but he kind of sees more as like, man, we can do something else though, where we don't have to, really work for anybody. There's other opportunities that we can do. And, he'll try to, say, hey, let's do these certifications. You should get these certifications, do these things, or,
Gotcha.
I think he's more torn. So I can get some good ideas, and I can get some, hey, let's cut some corners. Let's see what we can bend and see what we can twist in our favor.
Gotcha. Sure. So, if I'm looking at that, just that one section of the dream where we're gonna rob this guy. So there's kind of that level of things happening of like, well, that's kind of a crime. I mean, that's not who I am. I don't go rob people. But then also looking at the idea of beating up this image of someone that you don't want to be. Like right now, you wouldn't make the choices that the John character is making. You wouldn't go out to having a, lots of drug using, partying, hustling lifestyle who doesn't have a happy girlfriend because maybe he doesn't treat her well. So there's something about this image of your cousin going to rob and then beat up this image of John who you don't want to be, and a kind of a rejection of that path in life. And and then again, you're like, you're driving the car. This is your car, and maybe the car is your mind. This is your mind, and this play of these ideas against each other is happening in this vehicle. But then you go to this apartment complex and up onto the roof, and they're walking side by side, and it was when he looked over his shoulder at you.
Once I got to the roof, because they were a couple steps ahead. He turned over his shoulder, and because he was, he was scared I was going to hit him. I knew he was worried that I was going to do something. Yeah. And no sooner he turned his shoulder, he became somebody else, and that's when I was like, I'm not going to hurt you.
And it was after he turned into Franklin that you said, I'm not going to hurt
that I wasn't
you.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's what I was looking at too. Is like there's something about this setting of being up on the roof, and what is it too? You've climbed stairs, you've traveled to a place, and then you've ascended to this place. What is it? Being, I'm not asking for an answer. Maybe you have one, but what does it mean to go upstairs and to be on at an elevated place? That can play into it sometimes too. There's a lot of these images where it means something important to go up to a place, and it can be metaphorical of ascending to achieve a height where you can look down and get a better view, or where you can, it's like metaphorical of achieving understanding, enlightenment, of gaining a different perspective on certain things. There's something in there. I don't know if any of that is resonating with you. Well, I think you got another phone call. You might have frozen a minute.
Yep. I'm back. Nope, I'm good. I'm good right now. I was just catching a little bit loosely in and out. What were you saying?
Okay, sorry. No, I was kind of rambling too, and I might. It's probably better if I. We got another cat here. Hi, Cece. So my wife's mother had this cat like forever, and thought it was a girl originally. Named him Cotton Candy, and we just call him Cece. So this is Cece. They all come and lay on my papers. No, I was just trying to kind of wrap my brain around why this apartment complex. It's very near your house, but not that specific place, because it's not that specific place. But why then this one long straight stairway that takes you to the top, Why go upstairs? Why the roof?
Yeah.
And again, I'm kind of thinking out loud. Is I don't expect you to have an answer, and I was just speculating that there's very often like metaphors or feelings we have about these kind of places of what does it mean to climb stairs to a destination.
It was almost like were the stairs like was the apartment. I was unsure. Are we gonna, are we gonna kill this guy here? Like, what's gonna happen once we get here? It was just we're going up the stairs and we're going to the roof. I'm following them. I don't really know what's going on, but this is what's happening, and I'm following. And then no sooner, I get and walk through the door, John gets scared. But right as he's turning, he turns into Franklin, and that's when I'm like, I'm not gonna hurt you. And then those two gentlemen walk after. And I don't know why we were there. I don't know what the purpose was. I didn't know if I was tired of. I didn't feel like I was tired of walking up the stairs. It just felt like this is where we had to go.
Yeah,
we had to take him here.
That's what I'm thinking too. Is that there's some purpose in your mind of going to that location, something that location represents in terms of the John's transformation into Franklin that needed to happen, and that the idea that you had to, like we were talking about earlier, that those stairs had to go up to get to the roof, and the roof was the path you had to start from or achieve first to then be able to go back down these stairs into this other place. So there's something about
because there was another set of stairs next to it from the stairs that we ascended to. There was a door that pretty much had stairs that descended down.
Yeah, and it only went down one little level, and it's almost like this, there was no other way to get to that place, that room, but to go through that path. So there's something, I think there's something there. We may never figure it out, but I think there's something there about why the stairs to the roof. Why does it have to be that elevated place? Why is that the only path to this other place? Maybe if we understand what that other place is, it'll give us a clue as to why going to the roof, going up high. That's what I was spitballing earlier, is what does it mean to get elevated? And it's often mixed up in our brains and culture with metaphors of gaining enlightenment, like climbing the mountain to the temple to speak with the guru, or climbing the ladder of or stairs of education to gain understanding and wisdom. There's all these kind of attaining a higher place.
The ladder to success, if
you will. Yeah, and that may be with it too.
I don't think it was one of those.
Sure. Yeah, it might not have been. No, I'm throwing out a lot of stuff here. It's like, where's my brain? Where's my brain going with this? What are those connections? Then that's when I came back to
there's a lot of things that I've been mentioning. So it's like, there's so many different details. Some are specific, some aren't. Yeah. And it's a lot. There's a lot. Cause I talked to my aunt, and she kind of she tackles in all this, and she has a lot of books that she reads. And so she was, it was like, it's a lot. You really dreamt about a lot of things that happened. There were a lot of situations.
It's a lot of content. Yeah. A lot of colors, a lot of behaviors, a lot of characters. So that's definitely part of what I do with my processes. Who are these people, or what do they represent? What are these people? And it's like, it's like I was saying, you have a dream, you just stab your dog or your cat, and it doesn't mean you wish violence, but there's something that image of the animal represents, and you're like, I have to do this behavior for a reason.
And what's crazy is there isn't really too much any interaction between us three besides that. I don't even know if there's any interaction between them two, period. It's just they're people that I know. They're people that I see from, time to time, or on social media. You're scrolling and, oh, hey, there's that guy, or they post something on their story. Oh, hey, that's that guy, and I think they rarely intertwine.
I think it's definitely not anything about the real people, but kind of more how you think of them or ideas they represent in your mind, paths you could take, or other connected ideas.
One being a hard worker, and the other one being, the hustler.
For sure. And then the idea that it was, I don't know what to make of the two dudes that walk by that suddenly Frank says, oh, is that what this is? Like, what is his purpose for realizing he has another place he needs to go? It's like, obviously that was a trigger. That was a key element of him becoming aware of a necessity.
Like, it was almost like, what are they doing here? Like, you brought them here, like, almost, and then he kind of followed after them.
Yeah, and if they're going that way,
didn't interact with them at all.
Yeah, he got the impression that they were there as an indicator. They were there as a like almost like a sign saying turn here, to take you where
Yeah.
you need to go. And then that's what
Yeah.
gave Frank the understanding that he had to go down to this apartment and engage with the man and kill off something that the young girls represented.
Yeah.
That's where I'm a little unsure too, because like I know I mentioned the kind of that yin yang symbol, the teardrops intertwined.
Yeah.
And that the girls were laying there head to toe, and that they had different colored
Ages and different colors.
different ages and different colors. Yeah. And there's probably something there too, because that was very clear to you. The colors stood out and the ages stood out, that one was younger than the other, and that they were in different colors. And also the idea that you saw one of them get shot specifically in the ear. So there's an attack on hearing. And so I don't know if we string those together a little bit. There's something about Franklin, maybe using a gun, maybe the gun's irrelevant, but Franklin attacking a sleeping idea in a way related to hearing. That I don't know what to do with that. Does that bring anything to mind?
No, it was just more so that it was just, I wasn't, it wasn't any other emotion that I felt, was just shocked that it happened, but nothing even into today of what it was something that has to do with hearing. Maybe, I mean, the hearing about how good it is to be an entrepreneur, not having to work for anybody,
Sure.
I guess if that had to make any connection.
Yeah.
And it's not, and it's not all cracked up to how it is, because, even again, I've kind of dealt with that a little bit. My father was a little bit of an entrepreneur, and we were in business, and one that didn't really kind of work out. He had two successful and one business that didn't, but so I've dealt with it in that to know, that it's not always what it's cracked up to be, but maybe it could be somewhat related to that. But besides, him, why he shot her in her ear and why she was bleeding out of the other, it really just, it happened, and I was
For
like,
sure.
wow,
Yeah.
he really just did that.
Yeah. There's brings to mind the idea of in one ear and out the other. Maybe not taking advice, maybe hearing something important. The idea of I don't know.
And that's what actually, that's a term that I've always heard a lot, especially even for me, man, it's just one ear out the other, you know what I mean? And it's, if I want to really take heed and really scramble, or, really process or think about something, I will. If not, I'm just push it off to the side. If it matters to me, I'll think about it. If not, whatever.
Well, in one ear and out the other is generally used with a negative connotation, like I told that boy and he doesn't remember. He didn't think it was important enough to hang on to.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Well, there is that, but then there's also the idea of sometimes you want to let things go in one ear and out the other. Say personal insults when it's not worth dealing with it. You're like, yeah, whatever. I'll let that. I heard it. I don't care. Letting it go. So it can actually be used in a different manner. Just a thought on that one too. But maybe. I don't know. Yeah, trying to connect that too to this idea of I think there's a lot of concerns with, not concerns. What am I trying to say? There's this temptation to take a less safe path that could be more beneficial. And I think your brain is definitely wrestling with that. Like, how do I feel about that? What's my decision here? Do I let this go because it's not worth it? Or is it tempting enough that I'm willing to maybe take a chance and the rewards are good enough that it'd be worth it if I pulled it off? So I think that's why you're getting a lot of this imagery. It does seem a lot related to potential for business opportunity and changing your life for the better. When we say business, a lot of people think it's like, I need to make more money, but it's also like it's what you do at your job that makes the difference too. Like, even if I was making half my salary doing this, talking to people, I'm fine with that. I'll take a 50% pay cut to talk to people on the internet about their dreams, and I'd be a happy camper, So what you do, the actual job itself is very important too. So there may be some elements of that. You don't work, I mean, without getting too personal, you don't work at a facility for children?
No,
Like,
no,
you're
no.
not a cook?
Facility
Okay.
for elderly people,
Elderly
long
people.
term and rehab care. And
Gotcha.
I've been doing that for, well, in different facilities. I've been cooking there for a total about 6 years, 4 years at my current job. But then I've been cooking for about 10 years, and I've, like you said, it's like it wouldn't matter, even if as much as these policy changes that I don't like and that bother me, I still love what I do. I still love making people
Gotcha.
happy with the food that I'm able to cook.
Okay.
So I mean, it is that. But then, like you said, it's like I could do this. Is the reward enough? I mean, like it's hitting it to me. It's making it seem like it makes more sense about business more than anything.
Yeah, that does seem to be where we're getting most of the meaningful connections in this. And then what is the dream trying to tell you? Not like sometimes dreams give you an answer. They're like, this is how you feel about this. This is what you really think. Sometimes dreams are more like, I'm still weighing my options, and here's good things and bad things. You're kind of adding up the pros and cons in your mind. So
Yeah.
that might be part of it with some of these things. Like, so what do the girls represent? It was the in one ear and out the other, but then there was also the girl that got shot that you couldn't see how she was damaged, but you knew that it happened, and she was the one that actually reacted to it. Like, the other girl never woke up, but this one was harmed or attacked in a way that you were able to see this shock. So there's what happened to both of them. They were both attacked in some manner or damaged or shot, but there's the different ways they responded too, and that would correlate to maybe. And it's interesting, they were close in age, but one little than the other, definitely dressed differently. So your brain's telling you these are two closely related ideas, similar in a lot of ways, but just different enough you can tell one from the other. They're both being, I don't want to say killed, but it's something like that. It's removed. Removed is more like it, in a manner that is final, but has different consequences for those ideas, or you remove them each in a different way, but and so it isn't like your brain's even telling you, you should do this, or you want this, or this is a good thing to happen, but here's what it would look like if you did, if that makes sense.
Yeah, perfect sense.
There's something in there. But then identifying what those ideas are, I'm not sure if it just relates to your general thought process on things. This is how you figure things out, or if those girls and the man in the hallway. That's also interesting too. That you knew he was there. You knew Franklin was there to shoot him as well as the girls, or at least, I mean, we watched it happen when he did that. But you never saw him. So there's this hidden representation. There's something there that you don't see clearly, but that you. In your dream, you identify it as man, and you know the man is concerned about the little girl, and you know Franklin has to tell him, I'm not here to hurt her, which is an odd thing to do if you're going to shoot someone anyway. It's like he wanted to reassure him before he killed him off. I'm not sure what to make of that either, but that is very interesting. You've got kind of three separate little girls, one of them that disappears when the man does, and the other two that had to also be individually removed as part of this process the idea of Franklin was going through. So if we kind of go with that business motif type of thing, I mean, you said Franklin's good man, he's got his shit together. You think of him as someone who's generally a good person that would certainly not in real life choose to just walk into an apartment and start shooting a bunch of people, but it's this image of what he is. If you value that, if you affirm that, if you choose to follow that path, you have to let go of some other ideas. I think there's something in there. So when you think of where your life is at and trying to become, say, more like Franklin in real life, what areas of your life would you have to let go of or downplay or eliminate?
Interacting with other people who probably wouldn't morally be approved.
Okay, fair enough. So that these people in the apartment that were shot by Franklin is, these ideas that are removed by the idea of Franklin, or the aspiration to be more like Franklin, could represent different types of people or different paths that you're rejecting. when you think of it, the man, the girls, people maybe in your life that you shouldn't associate with as much or get involved in their business or drama or whatever. Does something line up there for you? Does something connect?
Maybe. I mean, yeah, because I see more so like, there. I guess maybe there's a situation that comes around that, another friend of mine, I don't he's a good guy doing all the right things, taking care of his business, but there's just a way that he talks to people that it's kind of off-putting. I've never said anything about it or mentioned it to him, but it just whenever he talks specifically or about someone, it's just more so like almost like he has a little bit more harshness towards that other person. Other than that, I mean, it doesn't really bother me too much, but I notice it,
Okay.
That's probably the only thing that I'm thinking of. That
Does,
it's a situation that I see and I could say something, but I just don't.
Gotcha. So you see someone, maybe if I try to put it in different words, you see someone who's a little judgmental and he's not very diplomatic about how he shares his opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe there's something there with the girl getting shot in her ear. Like you got a guy who's speaking things, and this speaking, his manner of speech, the way he relates himself verbally is not, you don't support that. So maybe that girl getting shot in the ear represents killing that tendency in yourself. Like I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that. If I want to be more like Franklin, I got to make sure that thing never lives inside me, whatever that is. And it's interesting that it's asleep, that maybe it's a part of you that is dormant or at least latent. It's a part of you that is unexpressed but potential. And you're like, no, I'm going to choose that expression. That personality trait never comes out in me. I'm not going to be like that. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense because it's a lot. A lot of times, my mom or other people will tell me, hey, kind of can get a little critical on the kids. You might want to ease up a little bit. And I'm like, look, I'm not trying to be that. I could be beating the crap out of them like how I did when I was younger. I wasn't. I could have gotten lickings. I could give them out just as much as I got them. But I don't. I don't want to because I know how I felt. I know. So I mean, that's really coming into play is how I discipline my children. Is really a way that, like you said, it's dormant. It's something that could be, but it's just something that I don't utilize. It's something that I don't want to be a part of.
Yeah, for sure. I'm actually going to, this cat is rolling around. Hey, buddy. I'm just going to move this keyboard. Yeah, let's get that out of the way. Way back in episode number 8, the episode that is no more, I had a cat. My boy Prince walked across the keyboard and I lost that whole hour and a half interview gone. So I'm paranoid about watching the time and making sure these fuckers don't step on my keyboard. I can't throw them on the ground. I love them too much. It's like they want to roll around on the papers. That's fine. Just don't step on my keyboard. So no, I think that's very, very relevant too. Maybe so a lot of these things are connected. Like when I say maybe this relates to your job, a lot of people want to narrow it down like that, but there's a lot of ideas that go into how we approach decision making in terms of like, what do I want out of a job? How do I want to live on a day-to-day basis? And so it wouldn't surprise me that you have these figures in your life that you kind of look up to or you admire, people you respect, and they're in your dreams showing you, highlighting for you areas where you're already working on your own personal growth in terms of say, so it makes sense that you analyze what is it? What am I trying to say? You're looking for principles you can act on. Like, what do I think is right? What's the right way to do things? And if I were to agree with a certain idea of a principle, how do I put it into practice? And you're seeing, I think, different paths. You're exploring different hypotheticals in your mind of like, if I act on this idea, I think I lost you and I'm just still talking. 133. Are you back?
Uh-oh. We're back.
Can you hear
Yep,
me?
it froze right around the part where you said about looking for principles. Looking for principles.
Okay, good. Well, it
That's where it
fixed
froze.
itself real quick. I've had much worse connection problems in the past. I've had to take no kidding, like 3.5 hour thing and try and chop it down to 2 hours because we kept losing each other and we took a break and all that good stuff. But we'll get back to it now because probably people listening to the podcast don't want to hear about my technical issues. I'll go back to it. So yeah, if I could wrap my brain around it one more time, you're the process of decision making. We look at a lot of what ifs and we say, okay, if I choose to live like that, what are the consequences? How will it benefit me? What is the unintended fallout that might happen? So it seems to me like you're having a lot of these situations where you're testing theories in your mind. If I act more like this person in this way, what's going to happen? What does that look like? So you've got different lead characters. Like in the beginning, it's your cousin. So if I were to be more like my cousin, would it play out like this? What other ideas would I have to let go of or kill or beat down inside me, inside my tiny car? If I take this other path and now I follow this other person, their example, where would that lead me? What other ideas would I have to let go of? So, I don't know. I'm rambling now, but that's kind of where my brain's going with this kind of problem solving idea.
It makes perfect sense because everything kind of relating into my decision making with how I'm living my life. It kind of is playing touch on relationships. It's kind of playing touch with my jobs. It's even kind of playing touch with how I raise my children. I mean, it's hitting all of those things that when you're saying things and putting things into perspective, then I'm thinking, well, yeah, I'd have to let go a lot of things. If I got to be the family man that's doing the right thing, there's a lot of things, a lot of vices, a lot of, luxuries or things that I look at doing, that I'm going to have to put behind me.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds very impactful. Like there's a whole, so what is this dream trying to tell you? Like broad strokes is like, you're looking at not a midlife crisis, but a life path evaluation. Where am I going? If I stay on paths I was on before, is that going to take me where I want to go? But if I choose a different path, I got all these different paths I could follow. Where is that going to take me? And yeah, I think I think the dream wants you to, if we put it that, if dreams want anything, but what would be helpful in understanding the dream is to say, bring to your conscious mind more of the decision-making process of evaluating personality characteristics and what am I trying to say? It's a bunch of big words. I'm trying to say it's like bring it into more in your conscious mind of like that question of who do I want to be? What do I want my life to be like? What path do I want to take? And or rather, what's my destination? And that'll help you pick the path to get there. And you'll learn how to get there by choosing the destination. What's really important to you? What do you want as an end result? That's my thoughts.
I like it. I like it. That's awesome. It's making a lot of sense about a lot of things.
Very cool.
Because it is like, I mean, at first I'm trying to think like, gosh, is all this death? Is it because of my dad and he just passed away? I'm trying to relate so many things, but it's almost like the dream kind of almost touches on everything.
It does. And actually, I completely forgot about your dad. It makes so much more sense now in relation to that, because now that he passed, you're more aware of mortality. You're like, okay, wait a minute, my dad's dead. I'm next. In our family line. It's eventually I'm going to die, and that brings up those questions of like, not comparing yourself to your dad necessarily, but now that he's gone, you start looking at what his life and where that took him, and the idea that you still have the opportunity to make changes if you want to, or to improve, to grow, to choose that destination. Do you want to end up the same place your dad did? Maybe you do. Maybe he was great and you're very proud of him. Maybe he made some mistakes and you're like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that way. I want to end up somewhere different. So yeah, the passing of, especially of a father or a parent in general, brings a lot of these questions into sharper focus in your mind. It's like you start doing that whole life evaluation type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. This is awesome. It really is putting a lot of things into perspective.
Nice.
It really is.
Very nice. I appreciate it. It's my favorite thing to do is give someone something useful. It's like, do dreams mean anything? Yes and no. Sometimes they're just nothing, but a lot of it's just these free floating ideas. And sometimes you can pick out a theme. Sometimes you can get it. Well, I found mostly you can, at least identifying what am I trying to say? The ideas you're wrestling with, even if you don't have an answer, as long as you know what the idea is, you can bring that into your conscious mind. And now you can think about it instead of just dreaming about it. You can actually say, well, what do I think? What is this? What am I going to do about it? Sometimes dreams give you an answer, but very often they don't. They just tell you what you're thinking about while you're asleep, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, that's really awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it was a good experience for you. I mean, I say was because as far as I know, I'm not sure I had any other specific stuff to highlight, but I always like to ask people, before we wrap it up, are there specific elements you wanted to focus on that we just didn't spend enough time looking into, something still confusing or that seems important?
I don't know. I mean, the turquoise, for me, just the black car, the girl in black, the gray. Why turquoise? Why me noticing him having a turquoise shirt on?
Yeah.
But still not trusting.
Yeah. I think you might have froze a little bit again. I'm going to give it a second.
Oh. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. There you're back.
Froze?
You're back. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think if we go with the same theme on that, why the color? I don't know. But what's happening at the very end there is that you're at your mom's house. She's working. There's another representation of a style of living your life that you could adopt. Did you freeze again?
No, I don't.
Oh, it's just the video. Freezing? Okay. I mean, I can just ramble to myself, but I prefer to be talking to people. Yeah. But no. And it's interesting
I can hear you. It's never cutting out.
Okay, good. No, and it's okay if your picture freezes. We're just talking. So I just want to make sure I haven't lost you. Here we have, again, if we're going with this theme of work in terms of life choices and the path they take you on, here's another representation of, well, my mom works from home. That's something I could do. And maybe this knocking on the door, so you're going to have in the dream, like you have one guy turn into another, and you may even have the same character represent now something else of like, even if I followed that path, or questioning yourself of whether you want to follow that path, you could take another path. You could say, well, maybe I'll just work from home. Maybe I'll do that instead. So Franklin knocking on the door, telling you, come do things my way, come to the game with me. You're like, I'm not sure that's what I really want. I'm not sure I trust that invitation to live life that way. Maybe I'll stay with what's more comfortable, familiar. There's something there. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
That makes perfect sense. It puts a lot of things into perspective in that sense. Yeah, because like you said, it doesn't really mean that he has the same purpose, but he's just back in the game and coming out, not being so trustworthy to go down that path. Being as from the outside looking in, it looks great. It looks like, hey, this is the guy that, this is the way you should do it.
Mm-hmm. So you're still a little undecided about which path to commit to, which role model to embrace, and role models are role models because of their characteristics that allow them to be successful in whatever they're doing. They model the role that they're playing.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's really cool. I like it because now that really does it. It makes a lot of sense.
Thank you very much. Why turquoise?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Other than that, though, it was really. You were really spot on helping going down each avenue, and that's the way I kind of try to. Because I think you had asked that is, maybe how you decision, maybe you analyze things, and I try to. I wanna. Mm-hmm. I don't want to do things from a biased standpoint, or yes, I want to have that gut feeling, but I still want to have an educated approach to it, and not just. I'm just going to go in it and handle it like this. I try to handle things in that manner.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think that's a wise choice for just about anyone. There's overthinking things, making it too complicated, but then there's just thinking about it enough to make a good decision. Did I thoroughly consider what this would take? Am I capable of it? What's it going to look like if I do it? And am I happy with that result? all of that type of thing. So
Right.
yeah, trying to think things through is taking the time to think things through. You know, you don't have to make any decisions right now. That's why I like that idea of percolating. You put the water in, you put the coffee grounds, and you push the button, and you got to wait. You got to wait until the coffee's done.
Yeah.
Then it's ready. Then it's percolated. Then it's coffee, and you can drink it. So sometimes these ideas of thinking through things are just, you got to let the coffee percolate. Can't rush it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Understandable. Perfect. That's awesome.
Good deal. Well, yeah, if you're satisfied, we've gone as far as we can with the content. Maybe I'll say goodbye, and then we'll talk for a minute afterwards. Yeah, not very long, just a little brief,
Sounds good.
debrief type of thing. So yeah, I'll just say to everyone listening on podcast or watching on the website, thanks for joining us for another episode of Dreamscapes. Thanks again to our friend Felix for taking us along on a journey into the corners of his mind and letting us get a glimpse inside. I'll say to folks, like, share, subscribe, please. I'd really love to do this for a day job. Look in the links below for podcast links and different stuff. Join me in the Discord and say hello to people. And that's it. That's it for this time. Thanks for listening.